Don't move! Don't move! Don't move! Show me your ass right now!
We had a crash at 27, hit another vehicle.
Put the hands up now! I'm gonna shoot you! Put the hands up now! Please don't let me die.
Sit down.
Please don't let me die, okay?
August 22nd, 2021. Officers initiate a traffic stop for a stoplight violation. Shortly after initiating the stop, the officer calls out over the radio that the suspect is exhibiting pre-flight indicators and refusing to put the car in park. The primary officer requests another unit, and as that unit arrives to assist, the suspect vehicle takes off at a high rate of speed. The suspect causes a major accident before critically wounding an officer with gunfire and being shot by that same officer. As the suspect evades, he disregards all stop-and-go signals. Instead of initiating felony stop procedures, the female officer approaches the suspect vehicle, followed by the male officer.
Fucking now!
Get more squads here now. Back up! We're in pursuit! We know! Back up!
Get hands up now! Let me see that right hand! Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired! I'm hit! I'm hit!
The male officer reported that his view into the vehicle was obstructed because of the side airbags and the damaged windows. This officer stated he then moved to the passenger side quarter panel where he could see the suspect reaching behind the front passenger seat. The officer then heard a loud bang and a flash coming from inside the vehicle. It's at this moment the officer sustained a gunshot wound to his finger before retreating behind the vehicle that was struck by the suspect. The female officer also reported that she couldn't see who was in the silver Hyundai because her view was obstructed by the side curtain airbags. After the suspect engages the male officer, he emerges from the back seat and engages the female officer. This officer fires 4 rounds before her gun jams. The suspect then runs towards the male officer and jumps over him while engaging that officer at point-blank range. It's here where the officer is struck in the chest and leg. Although the male officer could see the suspect's body from the front windshield, he couldn't see well enough to determine the exact moment the suspect retrieved the firearm. The officer's ability to clearly identify the suspect had a handgun was compounded by the time the officer actually had to perceive the suspect had a gun before the suspect started shooting. There simply wouldn't have been enough time for the officer to observe, make a decision, and react before the suspect started shooting. In these instances, it's very likely a suspect will have the opportunity to shoot first. This means whether you're even capable of returning gunfire will be determined by whether or not you're still alive to do so. In this case, the officer was only hit in the finger, with the suspect's initial rounds affording him the opportunity to continue fighting. After the suspect runs off and additional units arrive, the suspect is located a short distance away, laying in the grass. The suspect was found lying face down and wearing a ski mask with a black Beretta handgun at slide lock near his head. If we're really concerned about the citizens in the vehicle the suspect hit at this very moment, you could maneuver around the suspect vehicle from a distance to check on them. Officers are obligated to render aid to suspects, but not until it's safe for them to do so. Ultimately, what's preferred is a shield to approach the suspect vehicle, or at least a tactical approach after additional officers arrive. I would rather have the opportunity to engage the suspect as he emerges from the vehicle with a weapon while trying to acquire my position versus being engaged by the suspect at point-blank range. Utilizing time, distance, cover, and the proper use of your lights will give you the tactical advantage. It's also beneficial as long as the environment and cover allows to create multiple angles. This would make it impractical the suspect could hit multiple officers at once. Investigators discovered that the male officer fired 18 rounds, the female officer fired 4 rounds, and a third officer fired only 1 round. The autopsy determined that 1 round fired from the male officer's gun struck the suspect, resulting in his death. This round entered the suspect's chest, traveled front to back, right to left, and in a downward angle. The bullet struck the victim's sternum, traveled into the chest cavity through the left lung, heart, diaphragm, spleen, and stomach. The victim officer was intubated, stabilized, and listed in very critical condition, suffering a liver laceration, punctured diaphragm, and a gunshot wound to the left leg requiring a tourniquet. Standing anywhere around a vehicle and not being behind some sort of cover is considered the kill zone or on the X. This is especially dangerous and problematic when our view is obstructed because of window tint. In these instances, you're staring at nothing while the suspect is seeing everything, placing you at an extreme tactical disadvantage. When officers are on a team, they're supposed to be doing after-action debriefs, discussing what went well, what didn't go so well after a critical incident, or even in training, and making adjustments to what happened so they don't repeat those same mistakes in the future. Patrol officers don't have that opportunity because at most they might talk to an individual in the department about what happened, maybe some lessons that they learned, but that information isn't shared amongst a group of people that could collectively make a difference. And so if we could work this thing backwards and ask this officer, if you could go back, what would you do differently? I don't think this officer would say, well, if I could go back, I would see more into the vehicle, therefore I might increase my reaction time and be able to shoot the suspect before he shoots me. A lot of times what we see and what we perceive is outside of our control. Therefore, what this officer would probably say is, I wouldn't approach the vehicle like that. If I saw this other officer approaching the vehicle, I would call her back. We would establish a position of domination. I do understand that sometimes officers are hard-headed and they don't want to listen, but usually with enough convincing, officers will pull back, and from a distance, you'll be able to calm yourself down and make better tactical decisions. Another thing that I do in training when I'm training officers, when I see that they're in an unfavorable position, maybe they're stacked up outside of a door and they're communicating with the suspect inside a room, or they're standing in a hallway communicating with the suspect, and especially around vehicles, is I will pause them and I will ask them, when the suspect starts shooting at you, what are you going to do? And every time that I ask that question, the officers will pause, they'll look around, and they'll say, I'm gonna go over there, or I'm gonna push down the hallway to that corner. Or in this officer's case, if you paused him before this happened, he would probably say, I would push around to the front of that vehicle that they crashed into. And therefore, my response to that is, if you are going to move there when the suspect starts shooting at you, then why don't we just start from that more favorable position? If you'd like to support the channel, you can do that by feeding the algorithm down below, and if you're not subscribed yet, it would be cool if you were.